Welcome to the Divorce View Talk Show. Hello, it's Joanie Winberg, divorce mentor and founder of the Fresh Start After Divorce community and the online course called How to Emotionally Survive Divorce. I'm always thrilled to do the show together with my co-host, Rosalind Sedacca. Hello, Roz.
Hi, Joanie. Good to see you again. I'm Rosalind Sedacca, recognized as the voice of child-centered divorce. I'm a divorce and parenting coach and founder of the Child-Centered Divorce Network. And we have a wonderful guest with us today who is really making an impact in the world of helping families cope with the challenges of divorce. We're very proud to have him on board. And he comes to us from Ottawa, Canada. So we're delighted to have him. His name is Eric Letts, and he is founder of the Fair Parenting Project, and he'll tell us all about that. So we're very glad to have you with us, Eric.
Hi, good evening.
Welcome. So would you like to start us off, Eric, by telling us about the Fair Parenting program, how you came about what you're doing and how it's helping people today after or during and after divorce. So kick it in there and get us started.
Sure. I think the best way to describe how it came about is, I guess, to also describe my background. My background's in family law and mediation, and like most family law lawyers, a lot of what we do is helping separating and divorcing parents resolve how to integrate their parenting plan with their community. And the usual traditional way of doing that is to just talk to the two parents. But about 4 years ago, I started thinking, well, what happens? I was actually practicing law in a community where there was this one particular soccer schedule that had their practices and games scheduled on a Friday. And I had several families that had children with two homes, that were struggling with this particular soccer schedule because Fridays are a common day with many parenting plans to have transitions from one house to the other. And so what I ended up doing is calling the soccer association and trying to resolve the problem by having them reschedule. And it really worked out, and it solved the problem for the soccer coach, who was having headaches trying to meet the needs of these children with two homes, and at the same time the parents were hiring lawyers trying to get their kids to soccer. And then building on that, started looking at other ways where we could reach out into the community to solve problems that separated parents or the children were facing. And one of the big projects that we had and we're ongoing with is getting school bus service to accommodate both homes for children with two homes. And we, through negotiation and sometimes through litigation, we've been successful in getting school bus services to start accommodating both homes, when children have two homes. And this makes a huge difference for the families, because otherwise parents had to negotiate and trade who was going to get school bus service. Lawyers would get involved. Sometimes the issue would be discussed in family court. And it's the same in Canada, the same in the United States, these issues. And then we eventually managed to get funding from the National Research Council here in Canada, and they funded a pilot project. And in that, we went out to a suburban community, and we got all of the family law lawyers. There was 6 family law lawyers out there. And just kind of an interesting thing, in most phone books, you'll find that there's as many family law lawyers as there are plumbers in any given community.
Yes.
That's how prevalent family law problems are. And so all the family law lawyers agreed that we'd promote one particular parenting plan, and then we went to a whole bunch of different community services for children, everything from soccer and karate clubs to the school bus services, daycares, and we had families that wanted to, it was optional, wanted to join on to this one particular parenting plan, the community services came halfway and integrated that particular parenting plan into their scheduling and policies. So it was, win-win all the way around, because the parents didn't have to fight about it. The service providers got more participation. 1 in 4 kids by the time they're 13 have 2 homes, so that's a huge market for anyone that's selling services to children. And then the third win was the children got to engage in community activities that didn't lead to World War III between their parents.
That's what I was just thinking. This is such a win-win, because I can see where this would fuel the parents to, have their differences and arguments. And so this really ended a lot of that stress, I'm sure. I never thought about it. It just never happened to me on my end. But boy, it makes sense, especially children that have 2 homes and having to go from one parent to the next. Incredible, great work here. How about as far as, did you say you're still working with anyone in the United States? So that's pretty much what you've established in Canada?
Well, we're growing. We have been presenting in the United States. There has been cases running school buses down in the States, in Virginia, I believe, and we're sharing information. And state by state, it depends on which ones have family status protections within their human rights codes. But our goal is to make this, share this information and build upon it.
Well, this is such a novel approach and so refreshing. The concept of it takes a village to raise children. This is a real community effort, acknowledging, if you're saying that 1 in 4 children under 13 are living in 2 homes, then this is a huge population, and it makes so much sense for towns and town councils and cities to be discussing this and focusing on this, because so many families are caught up and involved. And think of the percentage of discord and arguments between co-parents that can be just eliminated if it's just a natural part of the community. If the school buses and the sports teams and other organizations that are dealing with children are just knowing that we have a huge percentage, and this is the way we're going to accommodate these children.
Absolutely, and what's more is these kids that are at risk of all kinds of social ills, everything from low income and criminality to health and mental health issues. They're the exact children that we want to focus on accommodating so that they have better adult outcomes.
Big time. What's coming up for me is, how does somebody get this started in their community, or where would you recommend that they start, by either going to your website, or how do people get this started to see if they're not having these services?
Right. Well, our website has different models and information of things we've done. It's all free. We have our model parenting plan is up there, and they can download that for free. And we, you contact us for sure about if they have any particular problem, from daycares to school buses to sports teams to split billing. Our website's got a lot of examples on how different communities approached it, and we encourage you to share. If a parent or a group of parents came up with a solution, share it with us, and we'll help get the word out, because we want to share information and get it out there.
And you would think it would start at the school district level, at the very least, if school districts started among themselves, so that every school is coordinated in certain ways, and they're just dialoguing with one another about issues that are so prevalent, so common, and ways of helping families get through being parents and educating their children in a smoother, easier way.
Yes.
And to me, it's actively getting, like you're talking about, really getting the community involved and aware of the situations. Also, we were talking about earlier how it's stressful for the coaches where they're caught in the middle. So if they can solve this issue, then everybody's happy. It's like a win-win, but the coaches are not in the middle trying to keep both parents happy. In the meantime, the children are upset. They're missing their practice or missing participating in their favorite sport. So this would be a great tool for everyone to have. And coaches could actually initiate this themselves too, right? I mean, anyone.
Oh, for sure. And that was one of the interesting things for me was when I stepped out of the office and started talking to daycare operators and school bus drivers. They don't really like dealing with the politics and drama of children with separated parents. Yet they know that that's a big part of their constituency that they have to market to. And what we're trying to do is provide solutions so that the daycare or service provider, for another thing we haven't talked about is split billing. One of the big problems with separated parents is, most software systems are only designed to bill to one client or customer, and then when you go to the dentist and you have two, parents that are sharing the dental fee and both want to claim that on their taxes or whatnot, you run into problems. And so we're wanting to get solutions for all of those things, and that's going to save everyone time. The only losers are maybe the family lawyers that.
Oh dear.
Have a little bit, yeah. So.
But the big winners are the kids. Can you imagine a young kiddo having this all figured out? They don't have to take that responsibility to worry about it. They just get on the bus. They know what to do if they're going to this home, or if they're going to practice, and it's already taken care of. And the big people, the adults in the community, have taken care of it for them. So what a relief for the kids, big time.
Well, that's right. You can just imagine, the child with two homes has to think about and contend with so much more already. They have, the just logistics of getting their iPod chargers and their homework and science fair projects between two homes. That's enough. But then when they also have to deal with the politics of, one house saying soccer's okay, the other house saying, well, it's okay, but not on Wednesdays. It's just really too much for those kids, and that's what statistics bear that out, is that those are the kids that are most risk for bad adult outcomes.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Roz.
Well, I was just going to ask Eric if you could give us, based on your experience, some tips or guidelines on what are the most essential things that parents need to look for and look at when broaching communities or broaching services about this to get this dialogue up. What did you learn that are the most important things to be aware of?
Well, we learned through trial and error that some communities are receptive, and in those communities the dialogue goes very well, and then in other communities, I don't know why, your concerns fall on deaf ears, and that's why we have a litigation program where we, try to use the leverage of the courts and family status rights. In Canada and in many states, it's entrenched that a service provider cannot discriminate based upon a child's family status, whether they come from a family that's in, one home or two homes. Mm-hmm. And if you're in a state that has those family protections, then you will have quite a bit of leverage. And, children are growing and they only have one childhood, so time is really important. So the political process, like I said, in some communities it goes really quick. In other communities, you hit a wall, and then it's time to talk to a human rights lawyer in your local area.
How do you know if your community has that? What did you call it? It has the what protection? It was
family status.
Okay, family status. How do you know if that's?
Well,
is it by town or state or city?
Usually it's by state.
Oh, by state. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So you could. A good Google search might might help you along, or consult a lawyer in your particular area, and a human rights lawyer as opposed to a family lawyer.
Okay. I didn't know they were human rights attorneys, so I guess it's still all new to me. But this is great, because this is, I know I'm just asking these questions because a parent might be saying, okay, how do I get started? And Roz, like you mentioned, what are the tips and tools and steps to get a parent going? So if they're facing this issue, they're wanting to have some place to get started. And so we don't want to have a block there. So anything that helps them get started is important. Like you said, time is of the essence, for sure.
Sure. Yeah.
Are there any obstacles that are commonly faced that you keep bumping into in this process?
Well, sometimes you have the obstacle. It's a new, I think it's fair to say it's a new area of law or human rights, and sometimes it's hard to get out of the trap of just going to family court, because our current system, in Canada and in the United States, is that every time a child with separated parents has a problem with scheduling or daycares or whatnot, it's put upon the two parents to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to break that mold and that knee-jerk solution to say, well, hey, wait a second, because there's not just this family in the community. There's 1,000 families that have this exact same problem. So maybe the service provider should change a little bit.
I could see it being helpful, even for a school committee, to get involved in this, to understand how many kids are really being affected in their community.
Sure.
And new families are joining the club every day, every week, every month. It's something that it isn't that it stops. So because that there's going to be a constant progression of families joining this club and facing these challenges, and these are challenges that other people have experienced with, it would make so much sense for the community to look at it from that perspective. It's a different mindset, and it's a healthier mindset for the community.
Yeah, for the community, for the families, and for the kids.
Especially.
And as families, many families just have contact with a family law lawyer or mediator in a year or two right after separation, and then they muddle through on their own. But it actually gets more complicated as the years go by, because there's stepchildren and recoupling and the blended families just add to the complexity. It makes it even more important that there's a community solution to get those kids to soccer practice.
And this is something, if parents are more informed, this can be settled in advance of the finalization of the divorce, so that will certainly end less conflict in the court, or even not having to go to court because of this, and then hopefully less conflict down the line after the divorce is final. So to me, it's something that should be brought up right at the beginning, if more and more and more, so it can head off a lot of these issues or these obstacles that you talked about.
Yeah, and it prevents, it's an off-the-shelf solution, like our standardized parenting plan, and it's free, and it prevents the families from having to reinvent the wheel. So they get a normative model, and they may tweak it in the years to come, but at least it gives them a starting point, as opposed to a blank piece of paper that most divorcing families start with, and then it's costly to custom design is costly in any field.
So would they go to fairparenting.com, which is your website, to get that sample model that you're talking about? Is that what you mentioned before?
Yeah.
Okay. So they can go there and at least get some kind of a template or a format to give them a place to start.
Exactly. And that particular parenting plan is designed to fit into community level activities in most communities, and we're not talking competitive sports or anything like that, but community level.
Okay. Well, that's where it all starts.
Sure.
And it might even be something for parents who have toddlers, when they're getting a divorce to be prepared for this when their children are now reaching school age. So that is something that they can be working out in advance, and hopefully avoid a lot of conflict if they can work this out earlier.
Yeah, well, it's even suitable for toddlers. Here in Ottawa, we have over 1,000 daycare spots that have committed to selling spots that'll fit into the Fair Parenting Plan. So if you have a child who's hasn't started public school and one house needs daycare and the other doesn't for whatever reason, there's a solution for that too.
Mm-hmm. Do you also offer on this form or on your website to help people figure out how to split it, or is that something they would work out with their own attorney and financial advisor?
Yeah, exactly. We don't deal with any financial issues there.
Okay.
Yeah, going to have to deal with that outside of it. It's just the scheduling of the children is really the only thing we deal with. Okay. The emotional things and that and such. They're going to have to talk to parenting professionals and it's not all things.
No. Could you share a success story with us of how you've seen this work and how it's been so helpful for parents and their children? Any success story that you've seen or worked with people that are making it happen and it flowed easily, or anything that you can share with us to help the parents feel that this does work well?
Sure. Well, we have over 1,000 kids here in the Ottawa area on the same schedule, and to choose, any one. I mean, the typical family that switches to this is a family that's been on a week-to-week schedule, and it's just not working for them, because when they're on a week-to-week schedule, and the children want to do activities, whether it's everything from tutoring to soccer to music lessons to Girl Guides, both families' schedules, both household schedules have to line up so that on a particular Wednesday night it works to bring that child to that activity. And when as families go, it's impossible to keep two households in sync. So what ends up happening is the child ends up not engaging in those activities, and or the parents end up fighting and in talking to family lawyers about it. So if they switch to this particular schedule, it's a split week schedule that lets one household control 2 particular days of the week, Mondays and Tuesdays, and the other household controls the other 2. And then they can each govern their own affairs, their own households on those particular days. So if one parent wants to do the Girl Guides, they can do it on their days, and the other parent wants to do swimming lessons, well, they can do it on their days, and they're not stepping on each other's toes with scheduling activities on the other. And the other thing that it does, and this is actually one of the areas where, if you want success stories, it makes not only the child's life better, but the parent's life. So there's been many parents that want to engage in adult upgrading or take a night course, or even just engage in their own hobby activities, join a bowling club or whatnot. And they can't do that if they're on a week-about schedule, because they have to either miss time with their children or hire a babysitter, or miss the bowling event every second week when they do have the children. But if they're on this particular schedule, then they can schedule their adult activities when they don't have the children, and and such, and it helps them too.
Mm-hmm.
So are you noticing that co-parents are getting along better and there's reduced conflict when they're following this kind of plan?
There's reduced conflict. I don't know if they're getting along better. They have to, and they get to communicate less, or get to choose when they're communicating.
Right.
It's structured so that all the transfers are at school or daycare, so that there's no in-person transfers or transfers in a Dunkin' Donuts parking lot or anything like that. So you get less impromptu conflict. And yeah, we know, those things still happen, don't they?
Well, that's a success story in itself, that you've seen parents get along a little bit better. There's always going to be conflict, or maybe they won't be as much, but that's a great success story to see. Maybe less tension, anything that can help with the tension. Eric, again, I wanted to make sure people knew how to connect with you or get more information. Let them know your website and anything else that would be helpful for them.
Sure, for sure. The website is fairparenting.com, and they can connect with me there. My letslaw.ca is my law firm website, and my private practice is pretty much 100% dealing with this sort of issues as well. I've moved away from traditional family law, which is nice. And yeah, drop me a line. I like talking about it. It's my favorite topic. It's my career, and it's also my hobby. And so if you have success stories or struggles that you're dealing with, for sure, it doesn't matter where they are. I don't mind chatting about it.
Your email's on the website as well, then, and your number. Okay, perfect. And that's probably how people would reach out to you, through fairparenting.com.
Sure.
Ross, do you have any other thoughts or questions for Eric?
Well, I'd love for Eric to leave us with some guideposts of how parents can make better decisions regarding the entire co-parenting reality that they're going to be living with for decades to come, and helpful guides for the communities and the schools and the other people who are dealing with children of divorce. What did you learn as a good takeaway for our listeners and viewers? Well,
I think one of the most important things for separating parents, newly separating parents, is to take a step back and go slow, figure out what they can get from every professional, because I think going to see a parenting expert is a lot different than going to see a family law lawyer. And a lot of the parents, I'm speaking as a family law lawyer, they would go to a family law lawyer seeking directions, whereas that's almost putting the cart before the horse, because the lawyer is supposed to do what the parent commands, sort of thing. And I think so. Go out, talk to parenting professionals like yourselves, develop a long-term plan, and that's important, because it's not just the next few weeks or months. It's hard to look beyond, and go from there. Take it slow, get professional advice, and make sure you know what to expect from every professional that you're going to be dealing with.
What's coming up for me, just as you were mentioning that, it's also important for the attorneys, mediators, and collaborative law attorneys to have this knowledge as well, to bring it up in the process, because the parents, as we all know, maybe can't think straight at that time. It's very emotional, but they should also have this information to say, this is something we also need to be considering in this process.
Yes, for sure.
And not just leave it up to the parents, but the professionals should be informed about this too.
Oh, for sure.
Well, I hope this conversation is going to lead to some dialogues among the family law profession, among the mental health professionals, and among the civic leaders in our nation, in our nations, who can make decisions and think out of the box and be more creative about this. It just shows you that when you have a bigger, more global perspective, you could come up with ideas that are helping many families at one time rather than individual, one by one by one, because so many of us are in the same boat when it comes to divorce and parenting and trying to keep our family afloat and make the best decisions on behalf of our kids. So this is a fresh perspective, and we're so honored that you've been on board with us, Eric, to share this with us.
Yeah, anytime. It's great working with you folks.
And keep us up to date, and we want to stay in touch, because just like you all mentioned, both of you, is getting the community involved and having them be aware that the parents could use some help on this too, and take some of that pressure off if the plan is already there for them, and any help that they can help with the kids as well. So, Eric, thanks so much for being on the show. It's been such a pleasure, and as Ross said, it's a refreshing look at this situation and having all of us understand the reality of this.
Yes, Yes, well, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
Fairparenting.com is the website, Eric Letts, and I think you all should take a look at that website and take away what you can from it to use it in your arsenal of worthwhile tools to create a more effective child-centered divorce.
Absolutely. And also to see this video again, you can play it many times as you'd like, go to divorceview.com. And also we now a podcast, so that will be available as well if you're on the go and prefer to listen on your iPad or your iPhone. You can do that as well. So we're excited about that. So that's divorceview.com. Roz, always a pleasure to have you here and do this together.
Absolutely. We have some wonderful guests coming up in future weeks, so be sure to keep tuned with us.
Definitely. And all of those that tuned in today, we appreciate it. And thanks again. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Great, thanks. Bye-bye.